Give it a few seconds and see if we have someone come in on this Saturday. See if we can get some encouragement today. Thank you, Valerie. Happy birthday, belated birthday. We both celebrating March, so it's good to join me today. I'm just waiting a few more seconds. Hello, Corral. Maybe I'll get the date right tonight. You know, today. Maybe I'll get that date right for tomorrow. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. You was freezing up for a second. Thank y'all for joining. Listen, thank you all for joining. It says step into your miracle. Come on, you ready? I need everybody now. Put your dancing shoes on. Thank you, Tina. Good to see you out here. 1, 2, 1, 2. To the right. It says step into your miracle. To the right. Every now and then you got to kind of try to step, try to move forward. How many need a miracle? Thumbs up if you need a miracle. I know I need a miracle. A directional miracle. Come on. Thank you. Thank you. Just a few more. Go ahead on this and say Pastor K is out here on a Saturday. Step into your miracle. Listen, I am so glad that y'all joined me on today. It is good that we're out here. I see some of you all out here. Good afternoon. Just want to remind you all, don't oversleep or undersleep tomorrow. We know that we lose an hour tomorrow. You all probably be early then, so y'all may be all right if y'all get there an hour early. But the thing is, in getting somewhere an hour early, you're probably going to leave and go back. So remember, this is the spring forward. Push those clocks forward an hour tonight. So I want to remind you all on doing that tonight. Somebody had to remind me, so I'm really passing it on, right? Just for a few words of encouragement before I get into an announcement on this afternoon. Let me just say this. As we look at the costs going up on everything. I was out. My brother picked me up on last night from the airport on last night, and we went to try to fill up his truck. And so, but there was a control on how much you could put gas into that truck, right? And so sometimes, so there's not only an escalation, right? You can see some controls that's going to be probably put in place from what's going on. And so often as things go on, people like to keep moving in veins as if it's not. I come in and out of the news because I used to look at it a lot more than I do now. I have to stay intact with what's going on in order to be any kind of person. You have to stay intact with what's going on, but you can't launch yourself in it because it's a lot of negative things that are actually happening, right? And not only happening as you see it with your eyes, but a lot of things happening in your life. There's a lot that's going on. And so you have to know what to do, when to do, and how to do it. And so some days you can handle more, and some days, frankly, you cannot handle a lot. And you have to know what those days are. I looked at the view of checkup, and it didn't get that many hits, but I want to remind y'all that you have to kind of self-evaluate where you are. You can't listen to the voices of a lot of voices out there that's telling you to go this way and do that, because you're going to have to know. You're in a day of knowing for yourself. As I begin to study more of the Word and look into the Word of God, it is not untypical. I'm going to tell you, as I read, it's good to kind of launch in the Old Testament just so you can see the behavior and the attitude of men, human beings, as God would bless and bring them out, and how they would just revert back to not serving, or revert back to a way of not appreciating God for what he's done. And if you start reading that Bible from the Old Testament, you come up, you're like, will they really get it, right? And so as we look at where we are today, as we've still in a pandemic, whether we want to believe it or not, things are a lot looser, yes. You still have to know what to do for yourself in every aspect of your life. And you should have always known, but sometimes we listen to people a little bit more. But we have breathers during this season. We have breathers that God give us. And what are we doing with it? What are we doing with the breathers that we get? What are we doing with a period of relaxation? Not to live an intense life. That's not to say that you can't take the opportunity to ride out or to do things. You should, you should do maintenance things. You should know what works for you with maintenance. There's nowhere in the world you sit looking at me and I don't have a maintenance plan. There's no way. And when I get off that maintenance plan, I can feel it. And that's just not only eating. There's things that it takes to maintain a life of going and not totally blowing up in your head and your body and everything else. And so you have to know what that is for you. It's different for everybody. So, that's why when people read, it's good to read material. It's good to read books and get ideas and things from people, what works for them. That's what create books. If I go and do one of myself, you probably will probably be a good seller because of my plan, and what I've been on has been massive. It has been. And people probably wouldn't believe it. But at the end of the day, that is my story, right? And then it can encourage you. That's what testimony is. And that's what faith is built with, sharing that information so that there are maybe some pieces out of what we've experienced that you can extrapolate, you can take, and you can go forward and take and say, God has no respect to person. He did it for Katrina. He would do it for me. And so those are the things that we encourage. There's sometimes mind battles and things that you will fight. I mean, I know y'all probably like, Lord, if I can just overcome this one little issue in my life that I keep battling with in my life, if I can just stop that, right? I think I would be better. And to all of a sudden that come that for God said, my grace is sufficient for you. You're going to have this before you, and you're just going to have to learn how to trust me, to navigate, and not trust yourself to even live until that end comes. So some things are not what I consider solvables, all right? There are some things that are solvables, and there are some things that are not just solvables. They just, that's going to be your your warfare, your battle that keeps you stabilized to get to the other side. And so I want to encourage you all with that. I want to encourage you all that even though your income has not gone up to that astronomical amount, some of us, we're blessed to have various streams because of our work ethic and what we do. But at the same rate, sometimes it's not what you make, it's what you spend. The more you get, you have to know when to buy, when not to buy. You got to know when to go and get something new, when not to do it. Even though you have a craving, an urge, or something internally that calls you to do it, because of where we are and where we're sitting, and you don't want the stress level that comes as an additive to whatever you're dealing with. So, for example, let me give you an example as I'm encouraging you today. It's not time to really go out there and buy new cars unless you have to, because if you look at the stuff, chips and stuff, right? We're not making them in this country. So you may be buying something that doesn't have real good stuff in it, right? And so you got to know, is it better to hold on to what you have and to work on that and to negotiate and try to make sure that stays intact or not? Those are some of the basic things that we deal with. We recognize now that the interest rate on money is low, but we don't know how long that's going to last. So low on mortgages and those type of things, they're lower. And so the refinance side may be now to do. We also know that doing some projects. I started some projects in my house last year, right? Last year. And some of it is just going on now. And then you're learning patience whether you want to know it or not, because no matter how you want to rush something and you want it over, you started it and they're doing it in their own time. And because of the lack of supply, the demands are high. It's a shortage of work. It's not people don't want to work. That's another dynamic. It's not that people don't want to work. People are working, all right? The unemployment rates that are low tell you people are working. So you have a different dynamic in the country. One, you got baby boomers, people that are coming off these jobs because the pandemic has done something else to them. They begin to recognize life is more than what we've been doing, right? So you all that have been out here that's been dealing with the stresses of getting up in the morning and dealing with the complexity of what people put on you on these jobs, you're beginning to say, look, life is more and I'll just take less, right? Because of the experience. So you have that dynamic going on. You have the other dynamic of the atmosphere out here on immigrants. It was a time that, I live in Florida, y'all. We have strawberry season, strawberry festival going on now. We have citrus, and a lot of times people like me who used to pick oranges, we ain't doing that no more, right? We're in the offices, okay? And so now that immigrants, the people that are here that normally would do that work in the hotels and those things, they don't feel as safe to be on the street because the climate is wrong. So that's the less people there. And then people are having less children. So all of those dynamics are going on that causes some stress that's in what we're dealing with. But here's my encouragement for you. And it's real, it's not complex, but I want you to think about what I'm telling you on today while I'm out here today. We're going to have to go back. Maybe you're all too young to know about go back. But I remember resources and support, right? Neighborhood raising children concept or support. Next door neighbor, if they had something, we can go and get it, right? Because we are neighbors. I have neighbors that I live by, good neighbors who watches out for me, and I watch out for them, right? Something going on, we watch out for each other. We take care of each other. Why do we do that? Because it's deeper than the stuff you see on TV. It's deeper than the things that you see somewhere else. And understand, my neighbors, they're diverse. They're not African-American neighbors. And I have them on both sides of me, and both of them great. And so as they begin to fear, I remember coming home one day and sharing. I said, listen, because they was like, they were looking at this news and the mainstream stuff. And so I said, listen, you got to let that go. And you got to think about who you do know and who you love. You love me, you're taking care of me, I take care of you. You're talking about immigrants next, you're taking care of them. They can't move the streets they normally would have so you got to get back to loving people and knowing that it's okay to take care of one another. And then not to just be prideful if there is truly a need. Now, let me just share with you all. I know I'm going down this path. Some of you all did not listen to the message that I gave in 2020, tell you not to spend up everything. You just didn't do it. But that's spilled milk now because you didn't do it. You may need help now, right? And so there comes a time where you may have to raise your hand and you got to teach your children that they got to kind of calm down, because not only do we have the supply and demand issue, we have those that don't own homes. The tenants, the landlord is putting tenants out. Why are they doing that? They're pulling them out to get higher income on the place that they have because of taking advantage of, I call it greed. A lot of them are doing that. And you find that it's that to stay, if you're not owning or buying your house, rather, that is harder out here than it's ever been. But I'm telling you now, the encouragement is this. You may not be the one that have to be homeless because you got a family unit. And so those are some of the things that are prevalent before us. And so when you hear to give, resources are a little less. So we that may have, if you're the lender, not the borrower, then you have that you don't have to make people to feel special just because you got to help them out, right? And so I want you all to know that to reserve what you have and not to overspend. Okay, I'm telling y'all, listen to me. If you're making it, the boom is not going to last always, right? And so while you're taking advantage of it, you may be living your best life, but your best life should be on some type of reserve so that, in time of plenty, you reserve, and time of lack, you have, right? And so you want to try to do that because the economic base will not be the same. We really don't know. And I say that not from a fear factor, but what war is going to do totally to the market and what is going to happen. And look at me, I'm going on that finance level of myself, right? But if we are wise enough, we can use a few things that I know that we do. We can use the resources of loving one another and go back to what we know to do and stop the pride junk, right? And then you'll be like a mother that I came up with, say, fool is nothing but fool. I learned how when I had to go do the high end, and I also learned how when it was light and was slack, how to do peanut butter and jelly. And so, and not to be depressed on the fact that I had to do peanut butter and jelly when I know I've experienced times that there was plenty. And so our attitudes, y'all thumbs up and say our attitudes count. Y'all write in the chat box, say my attitude counts, right? How I look at things count. What I perceive and what's going on counts, okay? And I also believe in the committee of one, that it's okay to ask somebody how they're doing. As God put people in your heart, your mind, ask them how you're doing. It's good to be thought of. It's good to check up on somebody. It's good to know that folks love you enough to just check on you. It's good. Good to see you, T-Faye. It's good to see you out there. The little note, the voice that you hear sometime on the voicemail, it means a lot. It means a lot. It means a lot to just hear the voice and know that somebody care enough about you to check on you. So I want y'all to know that times of these times, I was saying it Sunday a little bit after after I went off live feed, we was talking, I was sharing. It's amazing how when you read the scripture, it talks about the end time, and we are looking forward to the Bible begin to tell us that we should look forward to his coming. His believers, those that know him, look forward to him coming back. But there are some things that go on before he comes back, all right? And there are some times that he talks about perilous times that will occur before he comes back. And so I say that for the believers, that if you're in perilous time, you need to know that what they are, and don't act like it's not real, and know what to do during these times, right? And so in order for him to come back, times must get harder. And that's just the way it is. This is not a fallacy. And so the worst thing you can do is to, one, lock your head up and think that you tuck your head and you're not going to live during times of drought and exile, right? But you also approach it from a cautious standpoint to know that here's what I do and here's how I navigate as I'm led by the Holy Spirit of what to do and how to do. Okay? And let me just share with y'all right quick that the enemy don't like you, right? And so, and understand what the enemy is not in the air, it's in people's lives who comes to detour your ability to move forward and try to hinder your progression because of the naysaying. My recommendation, encouragement today: do not give any energy to it. Listen. You don't have to go out there and tell them what they, put the quotes out there. Listen, uh, be like Sanballat them when when they was challenging them on the building the wall, and they begin to say, "Well, I ain't coming down. Why should I come down off building the wall, right? Why should I come down while y'all sitting here picking at me? I'm going to stay on the wall, and I don't have to tell you I'm on the wall. You can just see me on that wall, right? You can just see me on the wall." And so those are the things that we can do to control our tongue and our mouth flow with responding to the nasty negatives when they're not giving you a morsel anyway. So don't put your energy into it. Use your brainwave and your mind to encourage yourself in the Lord and to be a light and encourage others. Listen, I know that it's rain today, storm. I can feel it up in here, but I plan to be outside tomorrow, right? Okay, so y'all have the opportunity to stay in your cars, to come under tent. But I am going to be outside tomorrow at 10 a.m. at Cornerstone, right? And yeah, there's some work going on in our that'll be going on in our physical building, our facility. But we'll be outside tomorrow. That's my intent. If it doesn't rain, if it's cold, I'm gonna be out there. Don't text me. I'm coming out in the cold. I got stuff I can put on out in the cold to connect with those that will connect at 10 o'clock in the morning. I am glad to be able to come out this few minutes today. I know that I love you all. You all have been great. You all have been very supportive of what we are doing. I do as I'm led, right? I do not do as other people do. And you can see that. I do as I'm led to do. And other people do as they led. You don't find me threatening and all of that. I say this, and I'm going to say this clearly, as I told our congregation on Tuesday night as we do our Zoom, is that we're going to do while we can. We don't know if it go up to $10 a gallon, if we're going to be able to do that. You may be back for another reason, right? So, and I'm not saying it's going to get $10 a gallon. I'm not saying that. Prayerfully it doesn't. But we don't know if we have discretionary income enough to travel to that extent. If there's a shift coming on, hey, we'll adjust to the shift and we'll be where we need to be. I am going to play another. I like this song here. It's like bragging on your God, right? You know. Come on, thumbs up for me. How many gonna brag on our God? Come on. How many gonna brag on your God in spite of something? Write it in the chat. Write it. Say, I'm gonna brag it on my God. Brag on my God. Listen, just brag on them. That's the testimony we have. When no time gets low, we can brag on our God. Thank you. It says, in every stressor there's a blessing. I tell it all. Wait a second, let me brag on my God has never taken a loss. Come on, y'all. Think about how God's working. That's right, baby. Brag on our God. That's it. In spite of what's going on, listen. Every lesson there's a blessing, y'all. Remember that. Wait a second. God never taken a loss. How many know God has never taken a loss? That means his children is not going to take a loss. Listen, brag on your God. And when they start getting ugly, you brag on how great God is. Wait a second, let me brag on my God. Ain't the truth, he ain't showing off. Yeah, I promise he never took a loss. God's never taken a loss. Can I tell it all? Wait a second, let me brag on my God. Ain't the truth, I ain't just telling y'all. You can count it, he never took a loss. And if I'm a tenant, I gotta tell it all. Listen, I appreciate you all joining me today. It's been a blessing. It's a blessing. Listen, have a good evening. Listen, prayerfully you all would see me tomorrow. Remember, share this, because what I'm saying today is going to work. It's going to work, but we got to know what we're dealing with, right? And so there's encouragement in the middle of it all. Know that I love you, Pastor Katrina.